Yeah, we're going to move to a little mini symposium sponsored by GE now. I'm going to hand the reins over to Koen here.
Thank you very much, and I will ask also Giovanni and Stéphane to come to the stage, because in the aortic world I'm not feeling always very comfortable, so I'm stepping a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I'm the more comfort in the next-gen hybrid OR room. So this is the topic of this symposium. So like I've mentioned, two giants in the aortic world, they're going to give us some insights in the next-gen hybrid OR. And so based on a case experience, we're going to run with Stéphane in his hospital through a fantastic aortic case, and we will see all the applications of the new imaging tools, how to use it, if it is really useful to use it. Of course, I'm going to ask all of you if you're going to use it, if possible, and then we're going to listen also to the evidence with Giovanni. So I think with this, I already summarized quite good the objectives of the symposium. I hand over to you, Stefan, and run us through your fantastic case.
Thank you very much, Koen. Giovanni, great to be here, and thanks, GE, for organizing this symposium. We all have personal disclosures, and we are all sponsored by GE for that specific talk. So we are going to talk about a case, and because this is a dissection session, we focused on the dissection case. This patient had a TEVAR a couple of years ago, and then had a rapid growth of the false lumen below that TEVAR, and for that specific patient, I decided to design a graft with a 5 fenestrations, because this patient had 2 renals on each side. On the left side, I couldn't keep the second renal because it was too close. Now, a closer view on this patient. This is the rapidly growing false lumen. And here you can see that this patient, when had the TEVAR for the acute phase, they also, because of distal malperfusion, they also performed a disruption of the dissection membrane. And I'm going to take benefit of that because I designed a graft that would get a seal at that level, because there's no aneurysm. So just a quick view. You can see here the second right renal artery that we're going to keep open. You can see both left renal arteries, and what you can see also, those are a lot of lumbars and intercostal that I actually routinely call embolized to avoid those secondary type 2 endoleaks that are often high flow endoleaks and often associated with a high inflammatory response. So we have great news, because this is the Alia Moveo, so that's the last gen hybrid room that was just CE approved and FDA approved yesterday. So it's a great opportunity for us to share that great news with all of you here. So this is what we had in mind more than 10 years ago with GE when we started working on hybrid rooms, is really to get to us surgeons a mobile C-arm that had the power of a fixed room and all the advanced imaging application, and this is what we have. Now the workflow has been really simplified, and now we have a touchpad and like an iPad in front of us. This is the fusion registration. You can see I'm just playing with my touchpad here to get the image from the pre-op CT on top of the fluoro image. We haven't edited that part. It's really live, so you see it takes a couple of seconds. We shoot 2 fluoro images, 45-degree RAO, 45 LAO, and we do that registration. And then we switch from that bone mask, the red mask, to the arterial mask. And you will see that on the arterial mask, there are a lot of markers: the origin of the target vessel, the origin of the lumbar arteries I'm going to coil embolize, and also the origin of the communication between the true and the false lumen to be able to go navigate from one to the other. So we're done with the registration. We're going to switch from the bone mask to the arterial mask. And here at this stage, I'm actually closing all those small intercostal I was quoting. And you can see the fusion mask is not perfect. Obviously, the patient was not positioned the same way on the angio table and on the CT table, so there's always a little bit of fine-tuning to be performed. You can see here I'm just doing it again from table side on the touchpad. Takes a couple of seconds, and then getting access to those target vessels is actually not that complex. And steerable sheath fusion guidance has made a huge difference, and this is why we do it routinely. I have to admit that a couple of years ago, it was very time-consuming. X-ray level was too high, and you can see here we're using a small plug. It's an implanter 4 plug. We use also concerto coils. And then the endograft has been advanced in the true lumen. We're shooting a new angio to check the fusion markers once again, and then releasing the endograft. At each step, you can see that I'm checking the orientation of each of the target vessel, but because I have the origin of each target vessel, I can make sure that my fenestrations are correctly positioned. I don't need to shoot many angios to check that throughout the procedure. See here, I'm rotating the endograft because I'm not happy with the position of the markers, and then slowly going down. This is here. Whoops, it's not working. There we are. This is here the lower renal artery, and its origin is very anterior, as you can see here. We're here in the mode with the contour of the aorta. You can have a VR mode also if you prefer, and you can actually switch from having only the origin of the vessel, having the contour, or everything together. At this stage, the graft didn't open nicely at the bottom in the true lumen, so I was concerned I was not going to be able to enter the graft, so I ruptured the membrane. And remember that there's no more membrane here. This is actually access to the true lumen and access to the true lumen. So all those markers are very helpful when you do those complex cases. Now, I told you about steerable sheaths. I told about fusion. Another game changer was the B-flared. When we do those fenestrated cases, we use that specific bridging stent that is implanted in the target vessel and flared at the same time. So fast, it's easy, and it's really a no-brainer now. We use it for all our fenestrated cases. This is the upper right renal artery. You can see at this stage I've took off all the fusion markers, doing a selective angio to check that everything's patent. Then I think we're going to look at the second renal artery, or not, I can't remember. No, this is the completion angio that probably we're going to see. You see that the C-arm is positioned lateral. It can be at the top of the patient. There's a lot of room for the anesthesiologist. The footprint is very small, and we can actually discuss from each part of the table because the detector, the flat panel, is very small. So this is a completion angio. Everything looked good, and we were pretty happy. So that's a new feature also. We have we can use a touch pen. We can draw any lines on the imaging, so it's quite convenient to be used, and also for academic purposes. So I think now, Koen,
yes,
the question
fantastic.
is...
Yes, I'm really impressed to see this, how easy it is. I think I need to switch from PAD to aortic because it's looking much more easier than what we are doing every day. But that is probably due to the hybrids, the next-gen hybrid OR. So, of course, Stefan, you presented here a quite complex case, dissection, whatever. The vast majority of the cases still today are simple EVARs. So is there really an extra value to use this high-tech technology, whatever, to use it in every case? So this is answer A. Or only in this particular complex case? I'm not going to ask you, I'm going to ask the audience. So first, just by raising hands. We are talking about a very simple, straightforward EVAR, long neck, not very tortuous, whatever, like I'm seeing every day in Dendermonde. So who is going to use, if available, this fantastic fusion technology? Raise your hands. Who is not going to use this?
I'm going to take
a minority. Dr. Lansing, why you are not going to use this?
Well, it's very time-consuming, and you have to adapt it when you're busy. So I think it's not for a regular case very necessary. You don't gonna reduce your radiation so much.
So,
Okay, so can you convince Wouter,
Yeah.
Belgian vascular surgeon, to use it?
So on purpose, I actually didn't edit that part of the fusion registration. It took about 40 seconds. So I cannot say that it's really time-consuming. Yeah. So when we do the workflow, and this was something we couldn't show, is actually that you size your endograft, and at the same time that you're actually spending time, we prepare the fusion mark. So it's for us, it's a regular process, and it really doesn't add much. Actually, what's something we didn't show is that we have preset, we record the various angles we need during the procedure, so we go directly to the best working position. And so, again, I think that even in everyday case, it's a benefit. But I get your point, and you need to use it every day to make it simple. I think that's one of the keys. James.
Stefan, thank you. There are two very specific issues that make fusion use difficult. The first is when your patient positioning during CT is not reproducible on the operating table. So do you have any protocols, tips or tricks to get your radiologists to behave? Because they don't ever behave for anything else. That's the first thing. And the second is, if you've got very tortuous anatomy, even if it is straightforward infrarenal aneurysm, but a lot of angulation, say, above the renals, when you put your device in, you often get quite a lot of change, particularly in that immediately infrarenal part where you really want accuracy with your deployment for the neck. How do you go about mitigating that?
So two questions. For the first one, the patient often on the CT table has the hands behind the neck, and obviously it changes a lot the anatomy, and especially because we do the registration on bone markers. So you cannot trust your fusion when you start the case. And that's why you saw me at each step do a small angio and then fine-tune the fusion mask. So definitely on top of that, when you do the CT scan, there's nothing in the arteries. And then you have a stiff wire, you're advancing a stiff delivery system, so you're going to move the anatomy. So you, again, it's going to be helpful, but you cannot trust it 100% until you double check. Now, you had a really interesting, second question was regarding, especially you talked about the neck, but the iliacs is even worse. You have tortuous iliac, and then when you go up, then obviously it doesn't look good. So for the iliacs, we've been working for the last couple of months and maybe years on AI solutions to change that fusion mask and to make it. We're probably down to less than 5 millimeter error, but it will still need to be checked. And I don't know, Joe, if you want to add something on that.
There is a a final question.
And there's another Joe that wants to ask a question. Yeah.
Congratulations, Stefan. Only about the angulation of aorta, is also possible to do the fusion on the previous markers of first step TEVAR. So we need the fusion more accurate.
So that's a great point. So what we did at the beginning is we were doing our fusion mac on an injected cone beam CT that we would perform after advancing the endograft on the stiff system. So that would actually be the solution to have the perfect fusion. Having said that, it requires another cone beam CT, and it requires quite a high level of contrast. So it's a balance. If you want to have it perfectly accurate, then you do it this way. If you want to take benefit of the pre-op CT, do it this way. Joe.
I was only commenting what you just said. If you want to be more precise, you can do a combine just before doing your fusion, but you have to compromise with the radiation exposure. So most of the case, we are able to be very precise, just make a precise collimation after the first angio with a small amount of contrast medium.
Perfect. So Giovanni, tell us the solution. I'm here.
Yeah.
Tell us the solution and show us the evidence.
Yes, thank you, Koen. I think that we do have lots of evidence so far confirming and demonstrating the effectiveness of fusion in terms of all the items you see reported here. But I like to start from this slide. There's probably been cut the year of publication. This is 10 years ago publication, so already 10 years ago have been clearly demonstrated that using fusion you can have a significant reduction in terms of radiation, fluoro, contrast, and also procedural time. So so far, after 10 years, we do have some improvements. We can improve the time for setting the fusion itself. We can improve the precision, but for sure, we still have the same kind of benefit and clinical evidences. So far, the European Society included the use of fusion CT guidance during endovascular aortic procedure as a recommended imaging modality to improve the outcome itself. So I think that's quite a robust body of evidence that confirm the utility of this approach. If I can go back to your question of standard EVAR versus complex, that's something that we use as daily practice. As Professor Olon mentioned, the workflow. This is the real-time workflow is a little bit speeded up, but you can see it's very easily. You locate your marker, renal artery, is long neck, but it's angulated, locate the origin of the hypogastric. We can store the angulation, and just pressing one button into the OR, when you need that angulation, the mobile C-arm just reach that position. So we stop to use planning and sizing with other device, another workstation, and just do as a direct workflow, even for standard. You can see here, angulated, just a small amount of injection for the renal, for the neck, and then just for 5 cc retrograde for the hypogastric. So it's clear, evident, and evidences that you can be really precise and also effective, reducing time and reducing the contrast exposure without adding extra time in setting the flow, the workflow of the procedures. Obviously, this is a part of the daily practice. We sometimes have different situations, so we move back into the previous session on the arch, and for sure, I think everybody of us sitting here would not approach a triple branch zone 0 arch without any kind of similar fusion. That's perfect for us. You see coronary, you see the radix, you see the origin of the supraortic vessel. You have a rapid pacing to deploy your graft. You see how precise are also in keeping the marker or the stent limited to be precise in deployment. This was cannulated with a carotid to carotid, branch to branch carotid, left carotid cannulation. Also, once you are inside with your guide wire, you can easily put your stent without other additional access vessels, and obviously there's something that really unique in terms of requirement for an accurate fusion, for an accurate stent deployment, and also stent bridging stenting release according, for example, to the bifurcation of the supraortic between the carotid and the left and the right subclavian artery. It's important, this kind of procedure, to be really precise, just to keep all the sealing into the nominate artery and also prevent the bifurcation of the subclavian and the carotid. I don't know, Stefan, if you want to add something in this.
No, I think it's clear. What I want to come back to this everyday cases. I think, again, if you have a system where the workflow is very simple, straightforward, the residents that come in my department after 1 week, similar to your department, they know how to use fusion. And I think that it has shown a clear benefit on reducing radiation. We never do magnification anymore because we have a digital zoom when we use the fusion. Also, we do a lot of collimation, and we do that collimation and the positioning of the C-arm and the table without any radiation because we have that fusion marker. So for us, it's a no-brainer. It's every day. We also do peripheral cases, especially all our CRAB and all that with fusion, and it's if you make it routine, then it's actually very simple, and if you have the right system.
Yeah, you need the right system, but you need to use routinely because it's something that you do automatically.
Okay.
You need
So Stefan, because of time, we need to move on. So you, at the end of your case, we go back to your case. You did a simple angiography to judge the situation, but I'm sure you want to see more as a control. And then we move to the cone beam CT topic. Please go on with your case.
Thank you, Koen. And that's the second debate is do we do routine cone beam CT? And you can see here with this new Alia Movino, we have an ultra wide bore, so it's actually very simple to go to a lateral view and to get this rotation. Also, having the fusion, when I do the test rotation, I make sure that the aorta is in the middle of the field, and then the acquisition takes a couple of seconds, and then you can see that from table side, I'm working on the 3D workstation, and those are a couple of MPR reconstruction. Those are the axial. I'm checking that the bridging stents are looking good, that we have a good flaring of the stents, that we have no kink and no limbs that are occluded or that are not nicely overlapped with the endograft. Here switching to a lateral view, again here looking specifically at the SMA and the celiac trunk. And what I like to do is with this 3D VR reconstruction is to double check inside the endograft lumen that the stents are nicely open. You know, one of the issues with those EVAR is that when you come up with the bifurcated component, you can have a conflict with those stents protruding in the aortic lumen, and you can crush them. If you can localize that, which is in 5 to 10% of cases, you can fix it right away and avoid a secondary procedure. So that's what I'm currently doing. There's a new feature that we want to share with you today. This is the current version with the CLEARECON DL, which is an AI solution that will get all the strict artifacts from the reconstruction. So those are low-dose cone beam CT acquisition, and you can see that on the left side you have no artifacts. On the right side was the old version of the cone beam CT. So it actually makes a huge difference because we can really nicely, accurately look at all those details. So I think that brings us to the next question, Koen.
Yes, it's impressive. I'm really impressed also the image you gave there, that you can cut away the posterior wall of the aorta and just looking into the lumen and to all the side branches. Again, extremely interesting for these high-level cases, but when my simple EVAR is finished, do I really need to do a cone beam CT, adding more radiation to my patient, to me, to the team? I'm not so sure, but I would like, of course, to ask the audience. So if you have this fantastic technology available, who is going to do this for a routine, simple EVAR as a check? Who is not going to do this for a routine, simple EVAR check? Okay, so you have some work, Stefan, to
convince everyone.
To convince, because here you are the loser, actually.
So let me just now start by saying you said increase radiation. This is a low-dose cone beam CT, and the radiation you need to do that is actually very low. Number one. Number two, I think that I'm not a loser if I can reduce the number of secondary procedures. And a regular EVAR looks good, but then when you do the cone beam the CT scan, a couple of weeks after the procedure, you realize that actually one limb is competing with the other limb and crushing it, and everything looks good in AP, but if you had performed 3D imaging, you would have fixed it right away, and this would have avoided a patient to come back to the OR. On top of that, doing that 3D image will actually reduce the time in the hospital of our patient, because we are 100% sure there's no major issue, and so we can discharge them the day after or 48 hours later.
You convinced me. So are there some other remarks? Yes, Wouter, please. You remain critical.
No, Stefan is really playing in another league, the Super League. But because you are so scientific, how often did you go back after such a cone beam CT?
So I think probably Giovanni will show that in his numbers. So we've published on that specific topic. We're talking about the complex cases. It's 7% of cases where we had to re-intervene. And for the regular cases, I don't have the numbers because we don't do that many regular cases. But I think maybe it's time to ask Giovanni to show us the numbers.
No more remarks?
Unless there are other questions.
Yes, there is a remark there. Can you bring otherwise I'm going to end up with doing a triathlon over here.
Enrico?
Stefan, it's a question for you or for Giovanni. We know that the panel of our CBCT is limited. So in complex EVAR, you do to check target visceral vessel. In a standard EVAR, where you have to focus your attention on limb, on proximal ceiling, or what do you say?
If you have a 40 by 40 flat panel, there's no issue to get the whole endograft from top to bottom. In FEVAR, especially in thoracoabdominal BVAR, sometimes we're limited, so we're going to make sure that we have the target vessel and all the way to the limbs. But that's the beauty of also combining CBCT and fusion, because then you can make sure that your acquisition will be well positioned. You wanted to ask? Yeah.
Excellent presentations, you both. And my question would be, you saw your post-CBCT on a contrast. Do you still do a CT scan in the first month or first 6 months, or how do you change your protocol?
So usually, so you can, there's two options. You can do a contrast enhanced cone beam CT, which requires a higher level of contrast, but then it depends on the patient's renal function. So usually we do this AP angio and then a non-contrast cone beam CT, and then we would do the first CT scan 3 months after the procedure. So that's the way we do it. I think we're running out of time, and I might ask you, Giovanni Kuhn, if you agree, to show us the results.
Yes, thank you, Stefan. So very quickly now, if we want to summarize some clinical evidences regarding the cone beam CT scan, you can see here this paper on the Houston experience in the last almost more than 800 patients. You can see it's just published this month. You see that again, adding the use of cone beam CT scan to the fusion additionally increased the effectiveness and the outcome of the endovascular treatment of complex aortic disease. We see the thoracoabdominal, different kind of period and different kind of setting. Starting using fusion and cone beam is for sure one of the most clinical evidences. So we were mentioned the standard case, and there was we also do low number of standard case compared to complex. I review our this year experience in our centers. Standard case, standard suprarenal fixation graft, some endoleak at the end of the procedure, just to check better with the cone beam. You see the nice heart into the aorta means that it was a really uncommon complication is the infolding of the aortic stent graft. So we double check with the cone beam, and we follow the issue of the extension of this problem into the aortic main body, so but we're able to fix directly into the same operation. You see here the very clear image that you can identify on this patient. So as Stefan said, our target, even in standard, is to reduce reintervention. In this case, was relined with an additional use of a balloon expandable cover stent. So it's something that really, being very low dose of radiation exposure, if you could not do this kind of imaging, as also for limb compression, especially at the level of the aortic tight bifurcation or since severely calcified, you cannot miss. You can only identify and detect with the postoperative CAT scan, but I don't know, Stefan, with your practice in standard EVAR, probably if you have a non-contrast cone beam CT scan at the end of the procedure, you can also skip the first month CAT scan and just go ahead with that. So try to light your protocol of postoperative protocol. The other case is is a case that I share. You probably recognize Professor Stefano Lon here. He was with us in Genoa doing this live case for the launch of the B-flared, and it's not so much different from what already he said. Obviously, if you do complex fenestrated fourth fenestration stent graft, you need to have this kind of evaluation. It's mainly focused on the analysis of target vessel. And you can easily measure the amount of stent deployed into the aortic stent graft compared with the amount into the target vessel. So you can do, without additional contrast, analyze and have all the information you need to see that the operation is fine. So you can remove your access and then go ahead with a post-operative, not first month CAT scan. You see the same, what Stefan teach us to cut the 3D and see from inside the stent itself. I think it's a nice demonstration that how can imaging help also not only doing the case but be really sure that you finish your case in the right way. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Giovanni. Thank you, Stefan, and thank you, GE, for the support.
There was just a couple of slides showing the benefit of this AI Conbeam CT.
You convinced everybody.
It's just because when you saw the CT scan, you saw a lot of artifacts because of the gold markers, but mostly because when you do the Conbeam CT acquisition, you have the pulsatile nature. So now, just to show you before and now that it's an automatic system that runs at the end of the procedure. You get those images that are similar to a real CT scan. So I think
perfect.
We can wrap up the session. Thank you, Koen. Thank you, Giovanni. That was great. Thank you.